Okay, welcome to the first episode of the Kayvman Show. And this podcast show is born out of conversations I've just had over the years, especially recently, where I've realized people are always kind of picking my brain because they know I'm a fitness guy. And I realized like how uninformed most people are and how uneducated most people are about health and fitness, and how they kind of just really have the wrong idea, and how generally society has it all wrong when it comes to health and fitness, or at least wrong enough that you see problems along the gamut of society. I mean, you look at America, 70% of people are overweight. That's 7 out of 10. It's a lot. So clearly we have problems. We have a kind of core fundamental issue, and people skirt around this issue but aren't really confronting it. We are unhealthy as a society. Modern society is unhealthy. If you think that being overweight isn't unhealthy, then you're deluded. Medically overweight is unhealthy. It doesn't mean you're going to keel over and die necessarily. It doesn't mean you're going to have a heart attack or you're going to have diabetes. No need to panic. I'm not trying to be an alarmist here, but if you are overweight, you're unhealthy, and that's something that we can fix. It just seems unnecessary to me for people to be unhealthy. And there's many different ways of being unhealthy apart from being overweight too. So that's just like the bare minimum. I want to focus more on health and fitness rather than lack of health and fitness. So how do we get people from point A to point B? That's not something that I can just give you a kind of magic tip and a magic bullet and fix it. But there are definitely tricks. But, you know, if you know what you're doing, this doesn't have to be hard. People can be healthy. People can be fit. So I did say that the first episode was going to be called How to Get in the Best Shape of Your Life and Stay There Forever. Again, like this concept of easiness versus hardness. I think a lot of our society is kind of really enamored with this idea of hard being good. There's some truth to that. There's something in that. I do think people are probably a little bit too soft, both men and women in the modern age. But I don't think that the primary reason that people are unhealthy, or just at least not in the shape that they want to be in, is because of lack of effort or lack of discipline, or, you know, that they can somehow magically like willpower themselves into getting in shape. It does look like that from the outside. And when someone does get in shape, it looks like they have a tremendous amount of willpower and discipline. That's what people say to me all the time. But when you're doing things the right way in fitness, it doesn't really feel that hard. It might look hard to other people, but it doesn't necessarily feel that hard. This concept of sort of pain versus pleasure, and that we need to move towards pain. Maybe there are some context for it. Pain is definitely not only useful, but like imperative signal that we have in our system that gives us information. We shouldn't be afraid of pain, but running towards pain, like putting your hand on a stove and then your hand is burning and then you're keeping your hand there, is just stupid. I don't think simply that being harder and being tougher and having more discipline and doing shit you don't want to do and eating things you don't want to eat, and that whole paradigm has been tried, tested, and really fails. I would warn people against this idea that you simply need to have more discipline. You don't really need to have discipline. It depends how you define discipline. I think the best definition for discipline is remembering what you want. So discipline is a question of direction, really. Where are you trying to go? And delayed gratification. All of those things are good, but like forcing yourself, punishing yourself, hard work, you know, I'm very skeptical of hard work, because even though you will work hard to get in shape, you will work hard to be in the best shape of your life, it doesn't really feel like it, and it doesn't dominate the process. It's a part of the process, but it's not the main driver. So people say, you know, you got to work smart, not hard. So what is working smart? It's doing the right things. When you have the game set up in your favor, you are doing the right things, it will feel a lot easier. Basically, this podcast is gonna, I'm setting the table now, touch on many different areas in addition to fitness. It's gonna branch out to biology, anthropology, history, sociology, politics, economics, all sorts of different things. We're gonna have to be a little bit brave and a little bit controversial, because a lot of those areas are guarded. There's gatekeepers there. There's the high priests of different areas like Western medicine that we're going to have to take on and have to skirt around. But we're not going to be afraid to do that. And I'm also going to assume that there's a baseline of intelligence to these conversations. And that's what sets it apart from other fitness conversations maybe. When I say baseline of intelligence, I don't mean it's going to be super sciencey. I love and respect science, and we're going to talk about science a lot, but I don't want it to be too academic. Sometimes that is also a problem when people are too sort of theoretical based and too academic, and they live in a lab and they don't live in the real life. Everything that we've done, that we're talking about here, has been tried and tested with real people. Myself first, my clients, and then other people too. We're not going to be pulling stuff out of you know what. This is going to be tried and tested stuff. There will be studies and whatnot that we're going to talk about, but it's not going to be overly stuffy and academic, hopefully. The biggest thing is we want to make meaningful change in people's lives. And if we're not doing that, then this is all just sort of masturbatory and a waste of time. So we are going to keep it practical, but that means that we're going to have to skirt onto different issues. The common theme of this podcast is that fitness doesn't have to be hard, and we want to set you up for success. Fitness can be easy. To make it concrete, we can talk about, for example, nutrition. Okay, people believe that they have to eat things they don't want to eat and avoid the things that they do to get in shape. And there is some, there's something to that. You can't just like eat whatever's like put in front of you and eat, I haven't seen people get in amazing shape eating pizza 3 times a day. But this concept that you have to eat foods you don't like and you have to punish yourself, avoid foods that you do like, it doesn't work long time. Doing things you don't like, you can't do that forever. Okay, your system will rebel, and you will rebel, and you will start binging, and you will fall off the horse or fall off the wagon or whatever, and you'll fail if you keep doing that. You do have to set the game up in a way that you love what you're doing and you're eating the foods you love, for example. Same thing with training. If you hate your training, then you're gonna fail eventually. Now, that's not to say that you might have to force yourself into the gym. Yes, you may have to force yourself into the gym, but if you feel like shit, both when you get to the gym and when you leave the gym, then you're doing something wrong. Your training is wrong for you. Well, that pain signal is a signal that you're doing something wrong and that you should change it. This idea of running towards pain and as a society, we are overly obsessed with this. Running towards pain is the opposite of how we are wired. We are wired to seek pleasure and avoid pain. If you get in a bathtub and it's scaldingly hot and you want to jump out, don't sit in the bathtub and burn your skin off. Like, that's just common sense, and now we have this idea of cold showers and whatnot. And look, there's some credence to it. Like being tough is great. It's cool. There's a time and a place for it, but I feel like it's dominating the conversation and people are failing. You should enjoy what you eat. You should love what you eat. And people who are fit long-term are eating the foods they love. People who are fit long-term are training, working out in a way that they love. And they love their bodies. They don't hate their bodies. The idea is not to destroy. Even this concept of like how to build muscle, you destroy your body and it magically grows back. There is some truth to that. Again, there is some truth to that, but it's not a very helpful way of, I've seen people just, their aim is to destroy their body. Their aim is to get sore and they're happy that they're sore. Well, if I took a baseball bat and smashed you in the leg, you'd be sore, but you're not growing any muscle there. You know what I mean? It's just stupid, right? And people are doing a lot of stupid stuff like that. So you have to remember what your intention is. And if your intention is to grow muscle, and breaking your body down may be a part of that process, but it's not the goal. Don't get sidetracked with that. If you can build your muscle without destroying your body first, then do that, right? Because your goal is to grow muscle. Same thing with fat loss. Like if your goal is to lose fat, your goal is to lose fat. It's not to lose weight, it's to lose fat. How do you do that? Well, we'll talk about it. What you have to remember is that is your goal. And so I think people get sidetracked with this idea of sort of punishing themselves. They make fitness really a self-flagellation, a punishment, and it's just so unnecessary. That's not the goal. Fitness is actually self-love. It's not self-hatred. It's not a stick we use to beat ourselves with. And the people who get fit start with that goal in mind and with that intention in mind. Ultimately, key takeaways, and we'll touch back on this again. Your key takeaways is you want to set your fitness up, both your nutrition, your training, your mindset, your lifestyle, in a way where fitness is self-care, it's self-love. And the irony is that the more you are in touch with that, and the more you find pleasure and the more you find enjoyment and engagement in your fitness, the better your results are. Okay, so that's what I really want to bring this home. I've been rambling about how, you have to not punish yourself and yada, 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 and how society kind of convinces us that we need to punish ourselves and things need to be hard, especially in fitness. And it's all about hard work and discipline and blah, 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 blah. And I'm telling you that's not true. But what I am telling you is that if you find a way, if you set your fitness up both your nutrition and your training in a way that you love it. And that might take energy, that might take forcing yourself, that might take breaking habits, that might take some discomfort, maybe not. If you set it up in a way that you love what you're doing, you love how you're training, you love how you're eating, you're sleeping the right amount of time. Like, sleep feels good. Guess what? It's fucking good for you. If you're enjoying your fitness, your results will be better. That is not some woo-woo, Pollyannish, honor yourself and all this type of stuff that we have in society now. It is true. It works. People who are in great shape love fitness 99% of the time. And the other 1% of the time, they won't stay there. They'll be in great shape and then they'll lose it. So if you want to stay in great shape long term, love what you do and find foods that work for you that you love. And we will touch on this. I want to be specific about this, but it's too big a subject for me to do in one podcast. I want to give you a kind of little drop of fitness tips. And the first one is love what you're doing. And if you don't love what you're doing, just stop. If you hate your diet and you've been doing it for weeks and you hate it, just stop, honestly. And if you're working out and you hate getting up and going, just stop and point yourself in a direction of what you would love to do with your fitness. And if you think that this is like woo-woo and weak and Pollyannish and stuff, just, even I did MMA for years. If there's a fighter who loves fighting and there's a fighter who hates fighting and they fight each other, 9 times out of 10, the fighter who loves fighting is going to win. So this concept of loving what you do is not weak, okay? It's very, very strong. It has a lot of power in it and it works. So without getting into too much detail and overwhelming you, I'm just going to leave it there and we're going to pick this conversation back up next time. Let me know what you guys think. Peace.